The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Matthew, we're live. Matthew, we're live. We're live, Matthew.
I meant what I said.
That's okay. That's okay. But good morning, you guys. That's right. It is Friday, September 20th, and today is National Care for Kids Day. So we have to give lots of care to Mathieu St. Germain.
Every day.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jay. I love you.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Fried Rice Day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pepperoni Pizza Day.
I get behind that one as well.
National String Cheese Day.
Okay.
All right, no, interesting. It's also National Punch Day for all the swingers out there.
Do you know what else day it is, Jason?
Was that Jason? Like until the swingers?
Yeah, they put the keys in the punch bowl. They drop their keys and they drop the keys in the punch bowl, kind of thing.
How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know, bro?
I know all kinds of things, you guys.
Somebody told him one time.
Stop the cap.
Yeah.
Is that where your key went? You just had to replace it recently. Is that where your keys belong?
You never know.
In the bowl by the door. Huh?
You never know. It's also National Tradesman Day, you guys.
Yeah. Shout out to all the
tradesmen out there. That's right.
Make dollar bills.
Yeah, those Teamsters in there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. That's right. And kicking it off today, we have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, who we were fortunate enough to have an amazing day on Wednesday over at the network show, and hope everybody had a fantastic time out there. That's right.
Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm. He's getting ready to have a fun Dope Dad weekend. That's right. It is the Dope Dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Happy Friday, everybody, and National Care for Children Day. Every day for us parents out there. Everybody else, take notes.
Right. Help us.
I bet.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a follow-up on the huge news that Jenny Beth Dills first reported on about the University of South Carolina inking that 3-year marketing and licensing deal with arguably the biggest brand in cannabis.
An update, huh? Cute.
Cookies. According to SF Gates Lester Black, Cookies head honcho Gilbert Burner Milam Jr. never thought that USC would ever say yes.
Damn.
And while everyone involved is quick to point out that the deal is technically with Cookies CBD and wellness brand, promotions will feature the exact same Cookies logo that has become a global name in the marijuana business. How the Cookies deal works under NCAA's promotional rules is not clear. Neither the NCAA or USC would say if marijuana companies are now free to advertise at collegiate sports, but there will absolutely be more cannabis companies advertising with college sports, according to Jim Andrews, an adjunct professor at Northwestern University and sports marketing expert, and a sports marketing expert. Here's what he said. They are really under pressure to find new sources of revenue, and this is one that is potentially going to be very large. Cookies is already one of the most recognizable names in cannabis, with 70 cannabis stores spread out around the world and some of the most well-known strains of pot, but the USC deal will put the brand's name in front of an entire new audience. Milam told SF Gate that it felt unreal to see a brand name he thought of in his San Francisco garage become the first cannabis brand in a more major college sports stadium. Lester Black said that the Cookies logo will be broadcast to millions of people across the country who watch football games with placement on digital banner ads between the Coliseum's. Should I mute, yo? Or the Coliseum stands. They'll also host tailgating events at USC's home games, and Cookies logo will be placed on some USC merchandise, according to a news release, effectively broadcasting a pot brand's name across a college campus where roughly half of the students cannot legally use the drug, a move likely to upset many viewers. Regardless of this deal being just a CBD agreement, the general public is unlikely to notice any difference between Cookies CBD and Cookies THC. It's the same font, same legacy, same connection. But enough about Cookies. What does this say about the NCAA? A league that for decades refused to pay athletes it exploited for names and for name and likenesses to be used to sell tickets, local businesses, and goods, and also to recruit new students to a college system that's become increasingly out of touch with reality and out of the reach economically for everyday Americans. It's used athletes to sell alcohol, opioids, both of which have the advertising doors never been closed to, yet linked to countless social media social infractions and violent events, including death for students, athletes, and fans alike. As soon as you get exposed, NCAA talking to you, for doing fuck shit, and the athletes finally get a chance to make their own bread outside of the system, you're still tiptoeing around the whole cannabis thing and into whether cannabis, which has never been linked to any of the above, is safe. Should the Cookies deal be seen as a major victory for medicine or frowned upon for not going far enough into the THC side? I say the latter. Everybody knows what Cookies is and what that C represents. THC is no longer a banned substance by the NCAA, so there should be no issue while you continue to sell poison to tens and thousands of people in the same stadiums each Saturday. Let the people smoke, chill the fuck out, and enjoy themselves fully while knowingly watching games of young, vulnerable men violently tear each other apart each week, all in the name of capitalism. What is freer than that? As college sports navigate their own legal and financial challenges, the Cookie sponsorship could signify a shift in how cannabis is integrated into collegiate athletics, tapping into a lucrative market for future partnerships with schools and athletes alike. I say let them eat cake or cookies. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. What you guys think?
I think that you got the wrong guy, Rico. It's not the NCAA, unfortunately, this time that's being the asshole. It's the DCC. There's a requirement that they advertise only to people who are 21 and over, right? And they have a burden of proof to ensure that that audience fits into that demographic. They can't cover that on a college campus.
I think my point went over your head.
Oh boy! I don't think it did, Rico.
I was pointing at capitalism and capitalism being injected in NCAA, which has effectively been indentured servitude for young men like myself for years, for decades, when we were effectively beta testing opioids for these bullshitters, for these motherfuckers forever.
Absolutely.
And you're also now they're like they won't even say whether they'll do this or do that. It's not just about the DCC here in California. This is about nationwide athletics, where they've still been pushing opioids and pushing these in their commercials every fucking year.
Yes, but you're saying
she's rolling her eyes.
I hear you. I sure as shit am. They're hurting. They're going to get stuck. What I'm saying is that you're saying that they should go farther. That'd be amazing, but they can't, Rico, because these brands are going to end up getting in trouble. Yes, should the NCAA be doing more? Should athletes be able to get money for their likeness? 100%. Do I have stuff from a certain university signed and shit for my kid that I have to say nothing about because it was illegal at the time they signed it? Abso-fucking-lutely. Is it bullshit?
Hold on.
Sure, Rico. Did you get a free education? Also that.
Hold on a second.
That's questionable.
Hold on.
That's questionable. What kind of education did I get?
I don't know. You're pretty whimsical.
A truncated education, and you can't even study what you want to. Do you want to be free? You want to be pre-med? Don't play football. You want to be pre-law? Don't play football. You are pushed into the narrow scope of what you are allowed to do because you are an athlete first and a student second.
Well, that sucks that they did it to the football players because they sure did not do that to the cheerleaders because we got to pick our majors, which is why I was pre-med bio, but okay.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you what, and Nick is bringing this up in the chat, and I know you alluded to this too as far as the advertising rule that California has for cannabis. But Cookies is also a separate clothing company. And so this deal could have been done with Cookies, which they would have not had anything to do with the advertising to 75% adults or 80% adults or whatever it is. So this deal could have been done with them, and then that's a mute issue.
And then on top of that, the whole cookie CBD thing, I thought Gavin Newsom was banning CBD in this state.
We're going to go into that later today, Rico. Just hold your horses, buddy. Hold your horses.
How's that going to affect the deal? This is about weed.
It's going to dead it. It's going to dead it is what's going to happen.
It's about weed, and it's about attracting young men who like the Cookies brand for weed. That's what it's about.
Well, I'm just excited for more unsmokable, salty corporate mids everywhere, you guys.
Everywhere.
Oh, man.
I think the feds finally figured out how to get everybody to stop smoking weed. It's not to make it illegal. It's just to make the weed unsmokable by giving it to the people who've ruined every other industry.
Man, a little mic drop right there. Mathieu St. Germain.
Matthew's on fire this morning.
Yeah, he is. What's that, Dr. Mark?
Has anyone ever tried a Cookies product that they actually like?
Oh, I mean, I've tried a lot of it, but it's never been good.
I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that like it though, and I guess
Well, there's a lot of people that like McDonald's, so that's not really a convincing statement.
Those are the same people.
Hold on a second.
They are the same people. You're right, Jenny.
Have you ever had McDonald's breakfast? Their breakfasts are pretty good.
Ew.
I don't eat plastic polymers. I eat food.
Okay. I mean, McDonald's, they have the freshest eggs than any restaurant in the country.
Hang on, have you ever tried
Also not true.
That is true.
My house, don't play with McDonald's breakfast.
They got fresher eggs at McDonald's than they do at your grocery
McDonald's
store.
is real food, and Donald Trump's going to save us all. Welcome to Bizarro World.
Oh, boy.
And Donald Trump loves McDonald's.
There's probably a mom and pop restaurant in your neighborhood that needs the money more than some billion-dollar corporation called McDonald's, okay?
That's true.
Tide Pods definitely get you high, dude. So let's eat our Tide Pods and our McDonald's and vote for Donald Trump, and we'll all be great.
Oh boy, I'm glad we have that.
I'm glad I have a soundbite of Mathieu St. Germain saying vote for Donald Trump. That's fantastic. Oh man,
hey, dude, just send that check, Jason.
I bet. And on that, we're gonna roll into a commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Back, Rico.
And we are back for the biggest Donald Trump apologist who claims he does not apologize.
I don't apologize for Trump. Don't need to.
Yeah, there he is. There he is, getting him up and feisty already.
Yeah.
He's the highest Republican in every room that he walks into and walks out of. He is known down in Mar-a-Lago as the gatekeeper and the JD Vance whisperer himself. Here to break us off with a little Friday heat. Y'all know who it is. The High at 9 News head honcho, Jason Beck.
Yes. Good morning, Rico. Hope you guys are having a great day. Adam, do we get this going yet? Oh, there we go. Hold on one second. Can we turn this just a smidge, please? Just a smidge. I'm sorry, you guys.
The highest diva in the room, Jason Beck.
That is fantastic, Adam. You are a rock star.
Adam, can you change the font, please? I'd prefer Helvetica New.
Yeah, I bet it's on something like that. And this is an update. Hold on, Jenny. This is an update the story that I covered yesterday, because there is a little bit of some clarifications that I think we need to make sure that everybody knows, because the smell of burnt cannabis alone no longer justifies a police search of a vehicle. The Illinois Supreme Court rules. That's right. The smell of burnt cannabis alone is insufficient to justify a warrantless police search of an automobile, the Illinois Supreme Court ruled on Thursday. The ruling stems from a 2020 traffic stop of Ryan Redmond, who police said had improperly secured registration on his license plate and was traveling 73 miles per hour in a 70 miles per hour zone on Interstate 80 near Quad Cities in Western Illinois. 3 miles an hour? Are you guys freaking serious? You guys are pulling people over. You guys must be bored out there. State Trooper Hayden Combs said he smelled a strong odor of burnt cannabis coming from the car, prompting him to search the vehicle, where he found 1 gram of cannabis inside the center console in a plastic baggie, according to the ruling. Good. Shout out to plastic baggies, you guys. The officer said he didn't smell marijuana on Redmond, who denied smoking in the car and didn't see any signs of impairment. And Redmond didn't produce his license or registration, and the officer said he gave evasive answers. But he told the officer he was traveling on I-80 from Des Moines, Iowa, to where he lived in Chicago, along what police called a known drug corridor, you guys. Prosecutors charged Redmond with unlawful possession of cannabis, even though state lawmakers legalized the possession of small amounts of cannabis beginning in 2020. And drivers are not allowed to smoke in their vehicles, you guys, in the great state of Illinois. But the state Supreme Court ruled 6-0 that without other suspicious circumstances, such as a driver failing to stop for some time or a bud in plain view, the search was unjustified, you guys. In a quote, "The laws on cannabis have changed in such a drastic way as to render the smell of burnt cannabis standing alone insufficient to provide probable cause for a police officer to search a vehicle without a warrant," Justice Scott Neville Jr. wrote. And the justices cited a prior case in stating that, in quotes, "cannabis should be regulated in a manner similar to alcohol, where possession is generally lawful but remains unlawful under certain circumstances." Courts from some other states, such as Kansas, Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania, have also ruled that the smell of burnt pot by itself does not justify a search. But the court cautioned that police can still consider the smell of burnt marijuana as part of the general circumstances that may justify a search. The decision runs counter to a prior ruling from before Illinois legalized pot, you guys. And so basically what they're trying to say in all of this is that basically is the smell of burnt cannabis is not probable cause, but they are saying that the smell of fresh cannabis, you guys, is still probable cause, and that is going to be dealt with in a later ruling. And thanks again to the Cole Memo for sharing all this information with us. We do appreciate all your work that you're doing out there in the great state of Illinois, Cole. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
All that work for a gram?
And three miles over the speed limit? That's not speeding.
Well, he did break more than one law at the same time. So, like, put your tag on properly, slow down a little bit, maybe tuck your weed a little better. That's a gram. Toss that shit out the window. I'll get you another one later. Come on, bro.
So if you get caught with fresh weed, or is this freshly?
See, I'm a little confused by that too. You know, and maybe Cole can chime in on something in this chat or whatnot. But yeah, that's to my understanding is that fresh marijuana they are saying is a different, because I guess it's a different aroma. I don't know how they're coming up with this.
Is it like freshly smoked, or are you talking about like
like freshly harvested? You know, like when it's like moist weed.
Herbs.
How the fuck are you supposed to get your shit home from the dispensary?
The terpenes, which by the way are totally legal, right? It's the cannabinoids that aren't. Mm-hmm. You should look the legal precedent set by my friend and normal director of the Pittsburgh chapter, Patrick Nightingale, Esquire. And there is legal precedent in Pennsylvania that basically says that the smell of fresh cannabis is not probable cause. Not probable cause. That's the smell of fresh cannabis. Burnt cannabis would assume that you're smoking in the car. Now you're consuming on a Department of Transportation road. That's probably, going to get you in trouble.
Thank you, Mark, because that's, we know there's a big difference when you open a bag and smell that smell and when you smell what it smells like when you smoke it.
I'm just wondering who all rolls around with fresh weed. Like, you have to let that shit dry for 7 to 10 days and just.
Jason, you're missing the point. We're talking about smoked and not smoked weed. When we're talking about fresh cannabis, they're just referring to.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No,
listen,
Jenny, you're wrong about
listen for
that.
a second, guys. Listen, I got the story on this. Okay.
Okay.
So there was
Dr. Mark,
there was a sting operation by the Pennsylvania State Police that was basically right down the road from a dispensary where my wife used to shop. And you know, when you get out of the dispensary, the first thing you want to do is crack your thing and open it and smell it, right? Well, when you do that in a car in Pennsylvania, you've just violated the law, and they were pulling people over because their cars smelled like fresh cannabis. But it was just totally like a scam because, again, they were right down the road from a dispensary. They were following cars out of the dispensary parking lot and just betting that, they probably opened their thing to smell it, and now they're violating the law, and they got in trouble.
Interesting.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mark.
I don't know if.
Patrick Nightingale, who's a great cannabis attorney in the state of Pennsylvania, who's the head of the Pittsburgh chapter of NORML. His case was basically precedent that's been all throughout the country now about, the smell of fresh cannabis not being means to basically pull someone over or having them get out of the car or anything like that. But the other thing that's crazy is, again, we all know that what makes cannabis smell the way it does has nothing to do with the cannabinoids. It's the terpenes and the thiols and everything else that's in there. Those molecules are completely legal.
Well, Cole from the Cole memo says, I can explain. The law says that the containers must be, in quotes, odor proof, and this is why raw cannabis can still get you in trouble. See, it's raw cannabis. This is what I'm saying, raw cannabis.
Yo,
Jason,
how are they even gonna get to that point where they have probable cause to even be smelling this shit? Like, this is just opening the door for harassment right now.
I think it is too, and like I think this is weird, backwards, but at the same time, like, it is Illinois, and they do backwards ass shit, like pull people over for 3 miles over the speed limit. But you know what I mean?
It sounds like, listen, it sounds like in some ways they're closing the door for harassment, in that if you smoked in the car last week, you're probably not going to be able to use that as probable cause. But I'm guessing that their reasoning for saying if there's a strong odor of unsmoked cannabis in the car, they're going to assume that maybe they're about to find a 10-pack in the trunk that you just picked up that are taken somewhere else. Which is unfortunate, and it's bullshit. But I'm so glad that Dr. Mark is here with his advanced degree. I'm sorry it took all that to explain to Jason what fresh cannabis is.
I'm not sold on. I'm not sold on. I'm not sold on that.
I'm going to put my head through something.
I can't wait. It's great. Make sure you do it while we have it on camera.
I'm going to. God.
It's like Biggie.
Employees of cannabis grows, when they drive home from work, smell like cannabis.
They smell like fresh cannabis. I agree with that. With that. Anyone in the trim room, they're going to smell like fresh cannabis, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
They may not have any cannabis on them, but they certainly smell like it.
They smell loud and proud.
Yeah, there's restaurants in Denver that said, if you smell like cannabis, we don't want to serve you. It's like.
Yeah, that is.
I love you guys.
Those are the kind of restaurants I walk in, fart, and walk out.
Oh, man. And on that, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll in Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where everyone should be getting their doctor's recommendations from, at least in the great state of California. That's right. He probably even has been writing recommendations so long, he probably even wrote your parents' recommendation. That's right. It is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yeah.
My headline today is from NORML. Sustained use of medical cannabis is not associated with changes in either brain morphology or cognitive performance. So what does that mean? Basically, it's saying that sustained cannabis use doesn't affect your ability to think. According to a study published yesterday in the Journal of American Medical Association, Network Open, researchers affiliated with Harvard Medical School and MIT collected fMRI data from medical cannabis patients at baseline and then 1 year later. Regular cannabis use can change your working memory, your executive control, which is your ability to regulate your own thoughts, emotions, or actions, and your reward processing, which is the way you learn, respond to, or anticipate rewards. There's debate as to whether regular long-term cannabis use affects your working brain negatively or positively. There's evidence for both. Most studies compare different cohorts or groups of people, but very few studies have tracked the same people over time. So that's what this study did. 44 people were scanned and tested day one, and then again 1 year later. At the start of the study, no one was using cannabis every day. Only 5% of the participants tested positive for THC, and no one was diagnosed with cannabis use disorder. So they were generally light or moderate users. 1 year later, most participants had started using more frequently, and about 20% were using daily or more than once per day. The investigators did not observe functional MRI differences between baseline and 1 year, nor did they identify an association between increased cannabis use and reduced brain activation. Findings are consistent with numerous prior studies that cannabis exposure is not associated with negative effects on brain morphology or cognitive functioning in both young people or adults. One study concluded that medical cannabis patients exhibit enhanced rather than impaired executive functioning over time. Our results suggest that adults who use cannabis, generally with light to moderate use patterns for symptoms of pain, anxiety, depression, or poor sleep, experience few long-term neural associations in these areas of cognition, concluded the study authors. Commenting on the study's findings, NORML's Deputy Director Paul Armentano said, "These study findings reinforce the fact that medical cannabis use is both safe and effective, and they belie long-standing claims that cannabis exposure is either uniquely or significantly damaging to the brain." So this is a solid study. It takes another important step toward demystifying one of the many stigmas perpetuated by the movies. In Dazed and Confused, was Spicoli's working memory really affected by his long-term cannabis use, or was that just his personality? This article has limitations. It doesn't discuss what patients were doing prior to the study. It doesn't follow them for very long, and it doesn't study heavy cannabis users. However, it does support the idea that Spicoli was exhibiting great executive functioning when he said, "All I need is some tasty waves, a good buzz, and I'm fine." Did anyone ever tell you that cannabis will damage your brain? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
Man, this is great news, Dr. T.
Whatever happened to "this is your brain on drugs"?
Yeah, this totally demystifies that whole "this is your brain on drugs." Any questions? Because now I have questions.
Well, they're lying to us, clearly. I mean, Nick Bradley, who is a regular audience member here and a good friend of all of us, is going through a lot of brain studies and MRIs and things to figure out a condition that he's been having. And I think he spoke to me and Dr. Mark this week and was like, "Should I stop taking bong rips before I go?" I'm like, "No, show him your brain as is. Show him like what's going on in there with all the weed. Also, it calms you down, buddy. So please take some bong rips." I think, Dr. Mark, you probably gave him the same advice.
I did. So I think it's important to note here, Dr. T, like, what is the age of these patients that they looked at?
Adults.
So were they okay? Because I'm sure you're familiar with the pioneering work of Yasmin Hurd at Mount Sinai in New York. And so what Yasmin's study has shown is that human longitudinal studies have linked prenatal and adolescent cannabis exposure with long-term abnormalities as well as increased vulnerability to neuropsychiatric disorders in adulthood. And so what's known, I've seen a little bit about this work described in a lay fashion, is that during the maturing of the brain during the adolescent years, there's a partitioning that happens naturally in the brain between what's called the gray matter and the white matter. And if I remember correctly, her studies have shown that cannabis use does affect that differentiation between white and gray matter. If I believe my memory, I think my gray matter is that there's more white matter than gray matter, and typically in a normal brain you'd have more gray matter. And I guess during those adolescent years, and again prenatal exposure too as well, could cause some abnormalities in the brain. This has been proven, and that's, I guess, part of, kind of like the other side of the coin here, which is now they're looking at adults. But I think if you look at kids, and if you're able to actually, get inside the brain like they do in MRI imaging, you'll see that there is a difference. We don't really know what the ramifications of that distribution between white and gray matter is, but her results tend to lead towards abnormalities and an increased vulnerability to these neuropsychiatric disorders. So I think the jury's still out on this.
Dr. Mark?
Well, remember, correlation is not causation. So the association was correlated. It wasn't proving that cannabis caused it. So I think the jury definitely is still out. As a physician, I have recommended cannabis to 2-year-olds, 4-year-olds, teenagers, all with medical conditions that benefited from it. And in these cases, the benefit outweighed any potential risk.
Right.
Some of these kids I've followed for more than 10 years, and they're doing wonderfully in terms of cognition. And so, to make the general statements that it's bad for all kids, I think leads us down a path that will hurt some of the kids who it actually benefits.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Mark, so would you say white matter matters?
Oh boy.
I don't know, that's a gray area.
Oh,
hey!
Man.
We have a dad in the house.
You just got bested, sir.
That's
and
cute.
I want to stop lumping. I mean, we lump all cannabis as THC.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. There's cannabis that's high CBD, low THC.
That's right.
There's 3 types of cannabis. And whenever people do a study, they go, you see cannabis is bad. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What kind of cannabis?
Don't forget about THCA, Dr. T.
THCA is a component in cannabis. It's not type of cannabis. When you're talking THCA flower, you're talking type 1 cannabis, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Professor Beck in the building.
Just saying.
Jason has been fired from his professor position
Stop the cap.
and spanked by Dr. Mark.
No.
I have a question for Rico. Rico, you said you fart in the store. If you eat an edible, do you fart terpenes?
No.
Oh.
No, that's not how that works, Dr. Mark. You're smarter than that. You're smarter
I like to
than
call that.
It's not the monoterpenes. They're too volatile.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually fart black matter.
Oh, God. Well,
Right.
and on that, we're going to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
These guys need to wash their
Yeah,
hands.
exactly.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yes. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. As well as make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show will be right up on our website just immediately following the show. And make sure that you mark your calendars because we're going to go overtime on Friday, October 18th. We are going to have the scientists from Abstracts coming in and discussing all of their new research and science that they have developed in regards with cannabis and cannabis technology and everything. And we are going to do a live Q&A with everyone that is joining us. And so if you do have questions about what they're going to be talking about, you just type them in the chat and the professors will be answering them.
I'm Cole Preston, and today I'm at Blue Island Beer Company for the premiere of my mini documentary on legalization policy in Illinois. I've been following cannabis policy since colorful Colorado legalized it all the way back in the day, and when my home state of Illinois decided to legalize it, I just became enamored. I wondered, what would it actually look like? If you'd like to see how Illinois fell short in achieving meaningful reform in their cannabis policy, you can watch my mini doc now at colememo.com/minidoc.
All right, y'all. Hope you got your blue books ready, because it's time to get your ass to class. The professor is in the building. He is a highly recognized New England-based organic chemistry expert and always bringing the Friday science lessons to the masses. Coming to the stage next is none other than the one and only New England giant himself, Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Thank you, Rico. Rico, all the best wishes to your mom. I hope she's doing well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I wanted to also just thank Jason for letting me bring on Chris Hidala and Josh Swider last week. That was a great session. Yeah. I know we ran a little over time, but it was a really good discussion. So today, my story comes from SF Gate, and it's entitled "Californians Are Panic Buying Hemp as Expected THC Ban is Put into Place." So Gavin Newsom has set off a surge of panic buying hemp after his announcement earlier this month that he's attempting to outlaw all hemp products, a category of cannabis sold outside of licensed marijuana stores. The emergency ban could hit Californians as early as Thursday, which was yesterday, outlawing the sale of products that contains THC outside of a legal marijuana store. Currently, hemp THC products are sold widely through online retailers, liquor stores, and convenience stores. Californians who rely on hemp products to treat a wide range of medical conditions, including severe epilepsy, appear to be the customers who are most concerned about the ban. Paige Figge, who you may remember is the late Charlotte Figge's mom that Charlotte's Web was named after, a nationwide hemp advocate and founder of a hemp company, said some California families are panic buying thousands of dollars of hemp products before the ban goes into effect. "I know people who have cleared their bank accounts," Figge told SF Gate on Monday. "These are veterans and first responders and moms of very sick kids. They don't have the money to spend on these things." Newsom's Department of Public Health filed an emergency ban on hemp THC, which includes a strict definition barring any product with a detectable amount of total THC. I'm going to stop there just for a second. So there's two things that we always have to be concerned about when you're talking about the amount or the potency of THC. There's something called the limit of quantitation, or LOQ, but there's also something called the limit of detection. The limit of detection is always going to be lower than the limit of quantitation because it's below the concentration at which you can reasonably assume what the concentration is from your measurement. You can detect it, you just can't quantify it. This ban is saying no, 0 detectable amounts of THC, which I think is below 1 part per million. So that's a pretty tall order, Gavin. With the Office of Administration Law earlier this month, OAL can either approve or deny the emergency ban depending on whether the agency believes the rule meets the statutory requirements of emergency rulemaking. I don't think it does, but let's see if it happens. An OAL spokesperson who spoke on the condition of anonymity or of being anonymous told SF Gate that it could be approved as early as Thursday of this week. California's proposed emergency ban comes as the hemp industry explodes in popularity across the country with a wide variety of hot products, from THC-infused drinks and intoxicating vape pens to cannabis cosmetics and medical tinctures. This proliferation of hemp has occurred with few regulations and outside of state-licensed cannabis stores, causing widespread concern from public health advocates that intoxicating products could be contaminated and could be easily available to underage kids. California lawmakers have tried or have attempted to bring the hemp industry under tighter regulations before, including proposing a new bill this year that would have banned hemp THC outside legal stores. That bill failed in the legislative session this year amid concerns that it would harm certain medical patients who rely on high doses of hemp CBD, a non-intoxicating cannabis compound, to manage their conditions. Stephanie Bone, whose daughter uses CBD to treat seizures associated with a rare neurological disease, told SF Gate that her family is the collateral damage in Newsom's ban. Bone purchases hemp products that have high levels of CBD and low levels of THC to help her daughter manage her condition. The presence of THC makes them illegal according to Newsom's proposed ban. Bonnie Goldstein, she should be Dr. Bonnie Goldstein, a Los Angeles medical doctor who treats Bone's daughter, previously told SF Gate that low levels of THC are not intoxicating but are medically necessary to control the seizures. Concerns that CBD products will not be available are unfounded. The emergency regulations do not impact the ability of consumers to obtain hemp-based CBD that does not contain THC in the general consumer market, or to obtain cannabis-based CBD in THC dispensaries throughout California. Bone, Goldstein, and Figge disagreed, telling SF Gate that Newsom's office is incorrect and that patients who depend on certain hemp medicines will not be able to buy those same products after the at the state-regulated marijuana stores. When California's legal marijuana stores do carry some products with CBD, including products that are similar to high CBD tinctures, like the ones that Bone's daughter takes, and marijuana stores don't necessarily sell the same tinctures that contain massive amounts of CBD that patients with complex medical conditions require, according to Goldstein. Goldstein said to some of her patients need to take as much as 1,600 milligrams of CBD a day and use specialized tinctures sold on the hemp market that can have as much as 6,000 milligrams in a single bottle. Retail stores in California rarely sell tinctures with more than 600 milligrams in a bottle, according to SF Gate research. They currently do not exist in dispensaries, said Figge, a hemp advocate. That's wishful thinking if that somehow that's not harming consumers in California. They're wrong. The patients and doctors also say that Newsom's complete ban is missing a simple fix. They say the state could ban intoxicating hemp products while still maintaining access to these medical tinctures by following the lead that Colorado, which does allow hemp products to have THC, has, as long as they have a high ratio of CBD containing in those products. But with most hemp ban appearing imminent, in California, Bone says families like hers are fanatically navigating how to care for the family members who rely on hemp products. She said, Newsom, turn back the clock on these disabled people with the emergency order, which she says does not need to be implemented outside the legislative process. This is not an emergency, Bone said. There is no forest fire. There is no earthquake. This is not a natural disaster, and it deserves more care. And it's a slap in the face to the disabled community that he's not willing to take the time to address this properly. So I think, we've talked about this before on High at 9. This is very sweeping executive action territory. It looks like it failed in the legislature, right, Jason?
Yep.
And here it is, the governor is going to be like, well, okay, there's an emergency going on, so we have to stop this right now. I don't think this is going to be effective at all because it's just going to drive everything to the trap market whenever they try to ban anything, especially popular products that are help kids alive. So that's my story today. It's Friday from here at St. Michael's College in the wonderful state of Vermont. That's what I have to say. I'd be interested in what my correspondents have to comment on this story.
Is it possible to recall Newsom again?
I just would like to say I'm really disappointed in all these sick and disabled people for not making enough money to afford their treatment. It's completely on them.
Listen, I would like to just acknowledge, all right, so I'm just going to say it, and I can be the asshole that I am because that's what I do. Paige, I appreciate you. I do appreciate the work, and the story Charlotte's story was a huge, huge, huge success for hemp and for patient access, and shout out to the Canna Moms. However, I don't necessarily believe now that the Stanley brothers got involved with that. The whole narrative kind of changed a bit with Paige, and there's been a lot of parading of Charlotte, unfortunately, for monetary gain. So, and those are the same people who are pushing parents to spend their last dollars, and they're bad parents if they don't give their last dollars and pay exorbitant amounts for hemp-based medication. So I think when we're looking at their completely depleting their bank accounts and things like that, how far are you pushing them to do that? We'll find a way for access for kids. We've always done it. We always will do it. There are people who will get you and your sick kids what you need. But I don't like the fear-mongering portion of this article. And as a mother and as someone who spent my favorite part of my career working with sick children, I just wanted to address that.
I'd just like to say that I'm disappointed in my far-left correspondent, Jenny's answer. That's anti-capitalist, and as a recent Trump convert, you can't afford medicine, you should fucking die. You're a drain on the system.
Oh, man. You know what? I think... I'll go ahead, Dr. T, please.
I wanted to give some advice to people out there who are in California and who rely on their type 3 CBD, quote unquote, hemp products. They can buy it online. Just because your retailer can no longer sell it to you in California, the retailer in Nevada will be happy to send it to you. This ban does nothing to stop access to the medicine that you need. It's a silly idea.
I totally agree with you, Dr. T. It is a ridiculous idea. I don't know where they're going to be able to enforce this at, and I haven't seen anybody taking anything off of any shelves in any of these stores, and throughout my neighborhood or whatnot. But
well, they banned the favored vapes, and me and Rico seem to find those just fine. So.
Exactly, and I did put Gavin Newsom's email and phone number. If you want to reach out to Gavin and give him your peace of mind on all of this, you can feel free to email him and give him a call. His number and email are in the chat.
Jason, do you remember this?
I don't know what you're doing, Jenny.
Can you see it?
No.
Safe to say? Let's
Oh
recall it
yeah,
again.
yeah. Shout
I
out
heard
to that.
Gavin Newsom uses distillate as hair
You
gel.
can't see me. Oh boy.
Well, one point to bring up here is that, like in a bottle of tincture, like if you're looking at like a 30 ml tincture bottle with the dropper on it, if you're putting raw hemp distillate or raw hemp extract in there, and you dilute it down with MCT, you're diluting the amount of THC back down to that below the 0.3%. So the federal government says that bottle is legal, right? California exists inside the United States, and the United States says that bottle is legal. So what's Gavin Newsom's executive action? It's a bunch of hot air. I think he's been probably co-opted by the cannabis, license holders who see it's not really the tinctures for the.
You think? Dr.
No, it's
Mark?
not the tinctures. It's the hemp derived THC that's basically replacing having to go to the dispensary and buy in the regulated market, right? So to me,
he wants the tax revenue. He wants the tax revenue. He's like, hey, all these hemp
they
businesses
can
are
have their cake
undercovered.
and eat it, right?
No.
Have their cake and eat it.
Tax revenue. Like I think it's not just about the tax revenue.
No,
I think if they did a little bit better of a job at this in identifying the psychoactive ones versus things that are truly medicine for patients like epileptics and others, they could have easily carved that out.
Not
they
a chance.
didn't.
They have no
So
interest.
you got to wonder.
Totally
They
right.
have no interest in doing that, Dr. Mark. Zero
All right,
interest
hold on,
in that.
Jason.
Go ahead.
This is a problem, and Dr. Mark just made an excellent point. That's why I wanted to let him finish it, because I saw where he was going, and it's brilliant. Because this is a problem of people who don't understand what they're regulating these industries, right? They don't know how to necessarily line out what is safe, what is not safe, what somebody pulled out of their mother liquor and is now selling to you that's going to get you high as all hell. They don't know what a child needs to keep a normal day to day, and maybe only have 2 seizures instead of 20, so we're being regulated by a group of people who don't understand the industry they're tasked with regulating.
That is
and Bonnie Goldstein in this article brings up a very important point, and Dr. T, you could certainly speak to this, is these tinctures are below the psychoactive level of THC when taken orally. So there is no real psychoactivity associated with these oral CBD tinctures. Dr. T, do you agree with that?
Bonnie will also tell you that kids don't get as high as adults do. They tend to have less CB1 receptors, and so their effect. And why does high equal a problem? That's the other thing. Like, just because you're getting high, does that mean that you are damaging the brain? You're not. So what's the problem with getting high? I'm still looking for the emergency here.
Right.
That's a great
And there's
point.
ways to get around it. There's ways to, if you're using something like a FICO or something that is going to be incredibly psychoactive, you do it before bed, so you sleep through that super high part, and you're still getting the benefits of the cannabinoid-based therapy.
But I will say too, I don't think people are running out to stores to go and stock up on this stuff like this article states or whatnot.
No, Paige is pulling a good old Stanley Brothers play and trying to sell out her
I'm not.
brand right now, which is really
Yeah, I'm not buying none of that, because I haven't seen no enforcement, nothing. There hasn't even been any like news stories of all of a sudden products being pulled off the shelf, which you would start to see if this was really happening.
I think Gavin Newsom just got mad because they picked Kamala Harris instead of him. He came back.
He's definitely mad about that.
The news.
He's definitely mad. He's not the DEI hire.
He just came back fighting the wrong fights, just stay in the news. That's my opinion.
Oh boy. I mean, honestly, this is the fault of the operators who reached in their mother liquor and tried to skirt getting an actual license to sell THC products. This is whose fault this is. And this was short-sighted on their part, because out of greed, they have now challenged access for people who need this as medicine, and that's disgusting. Mathieu St. Germain, don't start with me.
And on that, we are going to go to our final commercial. And
Welcome to the left.
We're going to be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery?
Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Yes, that's right. Coming up next, that's right. It is Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She has that southern twang and here to tell you a thing or two about life, about weed, about parenting, and more. That's right. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3. That's right. It is Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Hi. And one of the days that Jason left off today is it's my dog Mickey Hart's 10th birthday. So shout out to 10 years of the best, goodest boy in the world.
Cute. Very cute.
He is cute. He is cute. You love him, Jason. Come on. All right, so let's take it to the Provident City Council and talk about zoning requirements again, because in a significant move for the cannabis industry, the Provident City Council has passed an equity-driven cannabis zoning ordinance with a vote of 12-2. This new ordinance amends municipal zoning codes to enhance public safety while promoting the cannabis sector. Building on the 2022 Rhode Island Act on Cannabis, which legalized recreational marijuana use in the state. This ordinance establishes 6 designated cannabis retail zones and creates a framework for licensing, ensuring that at least one retailer in each zone is from an applicant disproportionately impacted by past marijuana laws. Additionally, another must be employee-owned. Crucially, cannabis retailers will be required to operate only within designated areas with measures in place to minimize noise and odor, and they must maintain strict security protocols. Notably, storefronts will be prohibited within 500 feet of existing schools, which is a fair buffer. That's fine. 500 feet is plenty. Councilman Oscar Vargas emphasized the importance of thorough public hearings and development of this ordinance, stating this is for the future of our city, and guess what? The future of their kids. This initiative aims not only to regulate this industry, but also to ensure that communities historically affected by cannabis laws can reap the benefits of this burgeoning market. Stay tuned for more updates on this evolving story. And I think that this is great news that they're requiring at least one equity applicant store to be present in each of those zones, carving out a place for them and making sure that, you know, the best portions aren't just for the richest investors. So throwing it back to you guys. Would love to hear what you think.
Oh, boy. Oh boy, this doesn't sound
Maybe
good.
not as much what you think. What do you guys think?
This doesn't sound
I
good.
mean,
I think that there's no evidence that adolescents have increased their cannabis use with the advent of stores. I don't know why they're making limitations in terms of feet to put the store across the street from the school. They're not interested in anymore.
Right.
That's true,
To
Dr.
be
T.
fair, the place you bought weed at my high school was for me, so I agree with you, Dr. Talleyrand.
Yeah, when I bought weed in high school, it wasn't from a store. It was from the high school. Just saying. And you have to go anywhere.
Yeah. Catch me in the dirt lot between periods.
Yeah, I didn't even have to wait for off-campus lunch.
Okay.
I didn't know Equity had a driver's license.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm disappointed. I didn't smoke weed in high school, you guys.
You have anything meaningful on this, Rico?
I got straight A's instead.
No.
Oh, really?
I got straight A's and I smoked weed.
Damn it.
I mean,
I was Model Win champion.
I guess this is a positive. They're trying to do stuff, but doubt it'll work.
Yeah, this doesn't sound like it's going to work at all. This sounds like it's
Shout out to
going to
Nick
fail.
Bradley down in the chat saying they didn't have stores in 1942, Jason, referring to Jason's high school tenure.
Reparations.
It doesn't make any sense to me either.
They're calling you old, Jason.
They can call me whatever the hell they want to call me.
1942. Oh, yeah.
That's actually a great year for tequila.
It was a
Great John Belushi movie, too.
Yes.
It was a great year for Germany, too, huh, Jason?
Listen, I don't think that the schools necessarily need to have a buffer zone. I agree. I don't think
That's
that this
stupid.
is going to put a risk or listen, a store that is going to require an ID showing they're 21 years
Exactly.
of age is not going to take my child's student ID from across the street at the elementary school.
Exactly right.
Do you know who will? The trap shop on the corner. You know who else will? The guy on the corner. So, I mean, like, to be fair. But also 500 feet is a much smaller buffer than we've seen in other municipalities. So at least they're a
It's
little bit
stupid.
more reasonable than the others. I got fine, Jason.
It's ridiculous.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
What do you want?
I wonder if they're keeping the liquor stores 500 feet away.
Exactly. Yeah, there's
There are
no
buffers.
buffer on liquor
Yes.
stores.
Yes, there is.
No, there's
Yes,
not.
there is.
Stop
Yes,
it.
there is.
You're
Yes, there is.
dreaming.
Oh, God.
You're
Yes,
dreaming.
there is.
You're living in a fantasy world, girl.
Oh, God. I forgot
Perception is
you were the
reality,
one who
though,
does zoning and building and licensing here, not me. So,
Mhm.
Jason, tell me the ways.
I just did. Hmm.
Okay.
Let's go, Rico. Let's go to Mathieu St. Germain. He's going to take us out of this world.
Fuck, why did that take so long?
Up next is the immortal cannabis wizard who walked with Jesus, witnessed the signing of the U.S. Constitution, and more recently, he earned two advanced PhDs in tripping balls from Stanford and Santa Rosa Junior College. Come to the stage next. Y'all know who it is. It is the immortal Count St. Germain himself, Mathieu St. Germain.
Thank you, my brother Rico. Everybody else, happy Friday. Hope to see some of you at the old Hall of Flowers. We're going to be there clowning on the legal industry and smoking better weed than most people can even find on the streets. We've got an exciting story. There's a new European initiative that is pushing for psychedelic therapy reform. They're trying to address a $669 billion mental health problem. The European Commission has officially registered the Psychedelic Care advocates for establishing a transnational legal framework for psychedelic-assisted treatments for mental health disorders. As Green Market Report outlined, this European Citizens Initiative aims to create progressive regulations around psychedelic therapies across the EU. We are scientists, medical doctors, therapists, neuroscience researchers, creative and marketing professionals, artists, policy experts, human and civil rights activists, spiritual practitioners, and educators. Together, united behind science and knowledge of EU laws, the goal of our initiative is to enable Europeans to access safe, regulated, conscientious psychedelic-assisted therapy. It's on its website. Psychedelic Care Initiative seeks to promote expert consensus on the standards of care in psychedelic-assisted therapy, covering therapist training, ethical guidelines, and safety measures. It also calls for EU-funded research to strengthen the evidence on the safety and efficacy of psychedelic treatments for mental health issues. Organizers of the initiative highlighted the high economic toll of mental health disorders in the EU, estimated at $669.4 billion annually, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. With 50% of psychiatric patients not responding to current treatments, the initiative underscores the need for innovative approaches like psychedelic therapies. The EU has approved just one psychiatric treatment in the last 3 years compared to 68 new oncology or cancer treatments. Psychedelic care organizers point to international developments, including the FDA's breakthrough therapy designations for MDMA and psilocybin, as well as Canada's and Australia's advancements allowing psychedelic-assisted therapies for anxiety and depression. The initiative hopes to encourage the EU to follow suit and incentivize mental health R&D. To move forward, this initiative must collect 1 million signatures within a year, which would meet the minimum thresholds in at least 7 EU countries. If successful, the EU Commission will be required to respond and consider potential legal action. The initiative also seeks to position Europe as a global hub for psychedelic therapy innovation. For the care and health of human beings, I think this is a great move, a great initiative. The other thing I'd like to point out, which a lot of people in these movements don't seem to talk about, is maybe the reason that mental health is at an all-time low and mental illness is at an all-time high is that we are living in a corporate, fascist, technological dystopia, which almost no one currently can really survive without an incredibly high level of stress. You pair that, with the alienation being experienced by most people, is it any wonder why mental health is at a crisis level? I'd like the hosts and my fellow correspondents to weigh in here on a Friday. This is Mathieu St. Germain for the High at 9 News. Let's go.
Alien Nation, huh? Mathieu St. Germain.
Yes, sir. Alienation. Not the alienation that's coming down with Donald Trump to solve everything and Let us live in our beautiful fascist dystopia where we'll
You mean the
finally
Anunnaki?
euthanize all of the handicapped people so that we can create the master race together, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Long live the Fourth Reich.
Oh boy.
You mean the Anunnaki?
This guy's.
Hey man. Hey.
Sorry, Jay.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'll hide you in my closet when they take over.
He went off the deep end again, you guys. I'm sorry.
You're gonna have
I'm
to.
sorry.
You're gonna have
We
to
tried
hide
to
the
let.
person who made those original statements too, Matthew. 'cause,
Yeah,
like,
we tried to we tried to let him cover some psychedelics today, and he just
tried, you
blew
guys,
his
but
lid.
he's hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
it sounds like he's got.
I mean, if we look at all the
psychedelics
mass shooters, and the media doesn't want to talk about it because the corporate media on both sides is funded by the pharmaceutical industry, just like Amazon, Netflix, Paramount, etc. If you don't buy the premium version, you can see those commercials, and it's just nonstop pharmaceuticals. Most of the mass shooters have been on SSRIs. Most of them have been bullied and felt alienated in high schools. And when do we, as a race of human beings and a human family, get together and say, hey, guys, this doesn't seem to be working for all of us, begin to create alternative plans of inclusion, fellowship, brotherhood and sisterhood, and caring for the least among us?
Never.
I hear you, but
happen.
kids are mean. We now have these school little shooters because kids have also been given participation trophies, and everybody's a winner.
No, that's not why.
Life
Hold on, let her
lessons happen
finish.
sometimes. Sometimes life lessons happen. Our society has gotten soft, and we're playing these shoot 'em up video games. Like some of the shit that I've
That's
seen
right.
on my son's Xbox, I'm like, I'm unplugging this. This is it. You just jacked a car, shot 3 people, and I don't even know what the fuck is going on.
Yep.
The things that we've indoctrinated our kids with, while also encouraging their petulance and being little assholes, is why we're seeing children bullied so viciously. Your kids shouldn't be on Instagram fighting people because your kids should be outside kicking a fucking soccer ball being a child. So as we as parents have stepped back and failed, a lot of that is also to blame for what we're seeing happening in our school system and in society.
I totally
Thank
agree
you for
with
the
that.
right-wing talking points. I'm glad to see that Fox News has successfully indoctrinated you. I would, however, posit that it goes
Hold
back
on,
to the
going
fact of
going outside and kicking a soccer ball is a Fox News talking point all of a sudden, Matthew St.
Pardon me,
Germain? That
Jason.
doesn't make any sense.
I would point to the elimination of music programs in school, elimination of after-school programs such as chess
George
clubs
W.
and science clubs,
George W. Bush.
elimination of athletics and artistic programs in schools.
George W.
Again,
Bush.
the alienation created by social media and this technological wave that has really been unregulated and just foisted upon the youth as another revenue source. And again, the wholesale prescription labeling of both SSRIs and amphetamines to our children from kindergarten on. And if one would stop with the coddling of our youth and et cetera, like I have kids, I know a ton of kids. Those are the kind of kids you guys are seeing, Jenny and Jason. I'm sorry for you for the company that you keep. Children I see are awake, aware, artistically creative, intelligent, on their way to college to get STEM and other degrees to help the human race. But majority of people are guided by both school administrators, doctors, and the mainstream medical establishment to get their kids on Ritalin at the age of 5 to 7, which then goes into getting their kids on a balance of 1 to 5 SSRIs, selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, which cause suicidal and homicidal ideation that is on the label as known side effects. When you pair suicidal and homicidal ideation with houses full of assault rifles and mass shootings.
That
Again,
wasn't a no, but that was a yes and, Matthew, because I agree.
Okay,
all
great.
Those programs are absolutely important.
Yeah, all those programs are great.
I'm a child who my mom thought to put me on the Dr. Spock method and throw me on Ritalin before I could swallow a pill. So I understand.
Wow.
And I wish that she had not have done that, and that's unfortunate.
ma'am.
My child is also a very kind, caring, loving, intelligent person. So it's not the company I keep my kids doing just fine. But I am going to call to action the parents that have stepped back and are allowing their kids to just kind of run rampant and be raised by screens, because we do need these programs. We do need athletic programs. Chess club was the only thing we could do in 5th grade. It was cool as shit for some nerdy stuff, right? So I agree with you. It's a yes and, Matthew. It doesn't have to be such a combative situation. I think we all want what's best for our children and for them to be able to go to school and get the education they have a right to without fear.
Yeah, Matthew.
I agree with you,
just
Jenny.
let the kids be kids.
I think it's gonna be a problem if you let your kids, you take that cell phone away from your kid, let them go outside, kick that ball around, and then shit, they get knocked out, they get taken out by somebody with a semi-automatic rifle, a weapon of war. That
You can't live like that. You can't live like that. That's not real.
And it all goes back to the root. You want to go back to the root of the problem? George W. Bush taking out all of this from schools in the early 2000s. Period.
don't know.
Also, from the positive perspective, we are
Thank you, Dr. T.
recognizing more mental health these days than not recognizing it. So I think the numbers have increased because we're able to recognize mental health conditions as well.
I mean, Dr. T, you do have a point, because nowadays they do just like all of a sudden people say one thing and then they like, oh, well, that's a condition all of a sudden and da-da-da-da-da. But you don't think that a lot of it is kind of like enables people to develop these conditions more by certifying and telling them that they have a condition?
Jason, people used to beat their kids if they thought they were autistic. They were slow and shit. They would get beaten or they get locked in the closet.
No one wants to be sick.
Right.
And it's good to recognize if you are, and do something about it.
I have a question, actually, for Dr. T.
Oh boy, here we go.
Listen, this is an actual question. So, I mean, the over-medication, is a thing. There's definitely an appropriate amount of medication, but we're medicating children for conditions like, bipolar, things like that. Those shouldn't be technically diagnosed until into their 20s, right? When the brain is fully developed, or is that incorrect? Is there...
Well, I completely agree with you, Jenny, on the over-medication of children. I think that there are much better ways to do it. But in our society, the quick fix is the pill, and listening to the doctor, and the doctors and the pharmaceutical company are making money off of it. And so it creates a vicious problem, really.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I was one of those kids. Fair story. My mom just threw pills and things at me, and now that I'm an adult and was able to go real therapists and real doctors are like, no, you're fine, you're dealing with PTSD from a mom who had BPD and it was abusive, and that was a trigger response. But I never shot up school,
as you should.
Yeah, so what Dr. T says here is really super important, and all you need to do is tune into the evening news if you care to do so, and you'll find that it's brought to you by the pharmaceutical companies with all these fictitious names of drugs and happy, frolicking families down by the seaside, and they have a dumbed down population believing that whatever's wrong with you, there's a pill for that. Oh, your back hurts? Here's a pill. Oh, your kid doesn't behave? Here's a pill. Oh, you can't take a shit because of the medicine you're taking because your back hurts? Here's another pill. When's the madness going to end? And I think we were talking about tinctures before. I mean, again, if you can take a whole plant, extract it, and make a tincture, guess what? No more pharmaceutical companies required, right? So, I mean, there is no play for the pharmaceutical companies in cannabis. Zero, because they can't patent the medicine. Medicine's already out in the public domain. So they have a vested interest to make sure that cannabis stays good and illegal so they can keep, the pharmaceutical company's mantra is not to cure disease. It's to hook customers for life and to get sucking on the insurance teat where all that money goes, right? When we pay our insurance premium, guess where it goes? It goes to the U.S. pharmaceutical industry, who's claiming that, it costs a lot of money to discover all these drugs, right? Basically, drugs that are approved by the FDA are basically toxins that basically do have efficacy on disease, but ultimately will kill you because, they hook you for life. And my dad and my father-in-law, twice a day, takes 2 handfuls of pills, 8 pills. I got this for my gout. I got this for that. I got this for that. And how 2 of them interact, they don't know. How 8 of them all interact in their system, they're slowly basically killing themselves.
Yep.
Agreed.
Totally.
They don't have to. The good people at home no longer have to tune into that bullshit evening news if they get up early and join us for High at 9.
It's so right, Rico.
Real true.
That's right.
You might still want to do your own research in some other places, but yes.
Fuck that.
Yes,
Let you tell it. Let you tell it. Let you tell it. You ready, Rico?
Yes. Thank you all for joining us for yet another week of High at 9 News. You can always catch us live weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Do we have any today, Jason?
No. They saw me have the Wagyu chips yesterday. I guess they just like, you know what? He's good. He'll survive over the weekend apparently.
I don't know, man. Them Wagyu chips, man, they gave me a little mini gout attack, man. I'm sad. I'm sad. Big shout out.
That's what it was.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's what it was exactly.
Big shout out to our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective, your respective opinions to the table as well. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping the lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. Millie and Adam always back there keeping it a buck and keeping us 100 on these airwaves too. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the High 9 News reads these headlines daily. Thank you, baby girl. And it has been Friday, September 20th, 2024. 2024. Show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until Monday. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, the cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And today, I'm going to pop things right back out to the provocateur himself, the timeless man who knows that time is nothing but a flat circle. Mathieu St. Germain.
Thanks, Brother Rico.
MSG, today's top provocateur. What you got for us?
I love everybody here, and I know that we go hard in the paint, but I just want to circle back and say I love and appreciate all of you, and in our dialogues, I hope that we are exploring and discovering intelligence and inspiring people to look deeper than the headlines, deeper than what you see on the corporate news. And what I am praying and working for is compassion. And so I'm going to make and renew my own vow to be more compassionate, tolerant. I hope everybody else can do the same. I hope to see some of y'all at Hall of Flowers today. Let's all make a vow to go out and smile and spread the love, and maybe we can be the wave of change. Love you guys. Thank you. Happy Friday.